Good morning. I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. We're going to take you live to court, the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas. That man sitting there is Rolando Rodriguez. He has already pleaded guilty to aggravated vehicular assault and not having physical control of a vehicle while under the influence. You may remember this was back in June of last year on I-90. It was 2 in the morning when Rodriguez has pleaded guilty to hitting a construction worker at 2 in the morning. That construction worker survived, but not without serious injury. He had to have surgery on his head. Again, this is the sentencing for that crime. We generally get a victim impact statement for the judge. We'll see if that construction worker is able to give any kind of statement today during the sentence. Let's take you live into the court in Cuyahoga County.
To count 2, aggravated vehicular assault, felony of a 3rd degree, high tier, and forfeited the Toyota to Westlake Police Department. This defendant also pled guilty to having physical control of vehicle while under the influence, a misdemeanor of the 1st degree. After pleading guilty, this court referred the defendant to the probation department for the presentation of a pre-sentence investigation report, and that has been completed and obtained. The court has also received letters of support, which the court has reviewed. Mr. Rodriguez, Oscar, have you reviewed the pre-sentence report?
I have, as well as the mitigation of penalty report.
Okay, and just one. Okay, thank you. Mr. Felice, have you had an opportunity to also review those reports?
I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, you may approach the podium and speak on behalf of your client.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to have my client address the court first, and then I will follow up with some comments afterwards.
Okay, I'll allow that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let the record reflect this is the defendant, Rolando Rodriguez, no relation to his counsel.
Judge Tatula, I'm writing to you today with the utmost sincerity and humility regarding my upcoming sentence. I stand before you aware of the gravity in my actions in the upcoming sentence, and I stand before you aware of the gravity in the actions and the consequences that I have brought upon myself. To his friends, his family, his co-workers, and I'd like to apologize. I wish we would have met under different circumstances. And I do apologize to all of you who showed up. First and foremost, I'd like to express my deepest respect for the court, the commitment for upholding this justice. I want to express my deep respect for everybody that has showed up today. I understand you have a reputation maintaining a strict sentencing policy, and I approach you with the full knowledge and the severity of my situation.
Just a moment. Did you say that I have to care about my reputation as a strict sentencer? Is that what you just said?
No, I may have.
Because I don't care at all about my reputation. I do what the law requires me to do.
Exactly, and I was trying to I want you guys to know that this is going to be judged on fairness, not on anything else.
Standpoint.
Your Honor, I want to emphasize my involvement in the events leading to this case was a result of lapse in judgment rather than a reflection of my character. I have always strived to live a life of integrity, responsibility, and it pains me deeply to find myself in this position. I want to assure you that I have taken full responsibility for my action, been honest and forthcoming through the legal process. I have cooperated fully with the law enforcement, and I have not attempted to evade accountability for my actions. Your Honor, I plead you mercy and understanding as you consider my case. I cannot undo the past. I'm committed to making amends and rebuilding my life in a positive direction. I have taken positive, proactive steps to address the underlying issues that contributed to my actions, seeking counseling, guidance, and trying to become a better version of myself. I want to emphasize that I'm not a threat to society, nor do I have any intentions of causing harm to anyone or property. I am deeply remorseful for the pain and inconvenience that I have caused, and I'm committed to making the best to make it up to my ability. Your Honor, I humbly ask you for fairness in this sentence, not out of desire to avoid punishment. I'm determined to learn from this experience and emerge as a better person, more responsible member of society. I want to thank you for considering my plea, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to address the court and to express my remorse deeply, especially to everybody who's here in this court. Whatever decision you reach, I'll accept it with humility and respect for the legal process. Sincerely, to the court and to the family and everybody I've affected. Thank you.
Attorney, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of my client, I've spoken to Orlando many times at my office, as well with his mom and the mom and the father that are seated in the back of the courtroom regarding this incident. I believe Mr. Orlando Rodriguez is genuine in his remorse. I know most of the time that we talk about, he acknowledges and is concerned about the well-being of the victim in this matter, not only to the victim in this matter, to his family, to the loss of wages that he has suffered and the pain that he has suffered. It is something that weighs on Rolando every single day. He has taken responsibility for his actions here, hopefully bring some type of closure to the victim in this matter. He understands that, Rolando understands that this could have been way worse. Someone's life could have been taken in this matter, and thankfully it wasn't. Your Honor, I did review the PSI. Mr. Rolando Rodriguez stands before you, 51 years old with no criminal history whatsoever. I think there was a littering ticket maybe a couple years ago. But this is his first serious entanglement with the criminal justice system. So I hope the court take that into consideration. I know it will. The ORAS assessment, Your Honor, I think that is a telling situation as to the likelihood of this ever reoccurring again. The ORAS situation puts him in a low risk to reoffend. The mitigation of penalty report indicates some mental health issues, so we hope that the court take that into consideration as well as the letters that were provided to this court last week. I know that part of the plea agreement we had agreed to recommend a prison term in this matter. We believe we're asking that the court consider a 1-year prison term. We believe that this would meet the underlying principles of felony sentence under Ohio Revised Code 292911, and considering the seriousness of the crime and the recidivism factors under 2929.13. So we're asking that the court consider sentencing Mr. Rodriguez to 1 year in prison.
Mr. Felice, on behalf of the state of Ohio.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this incident occurred on June 20th, 2023, around 1:45, 1:50 a.m. in the morning. This was on I-90 westbound in Westlake. Richard Simkowski, the victim in this case, who's been a construction worker for many, many years, was doing work on Interstate 90. Construction cones were set up, blocking off 2 of the 3 lanes. Construction vehicles were present. His brother Charles was also a member of the crew that was working with him at this time. Eventually, the defendant in his Toyota FJ Cruiser was traveling westbound on the Interstate 90. He swerved into the construction zone and collided with Richard. After that, he continued to drive. He did not stop to check and make sure that anyone was okay. Again, Richard's brother had to witness him getting hit by this vehicle. So Westlake Police responded and started their investigation. Parts from the vehicle were left behind on the highway from the collision, including parts of a side view mirror. Westlake Police identified the serial numbers on those vehicle parts, did research into those, determined and matched to the Toyota FJ Cruiser. The police then checked the license plate cameras as well as city cameras across the west side, and they determined that the vehicle involved was the defendant's vehicle. His vehicle is caught on city cameras, license plate reader cameras at timestamps which correspond with the timing of this incident. So once it was determined it was the defendant's vehicle, Westlake Police and Avon Lake Police conducted an arrest later that day in the afternoon. The defendant's vehicle, sure enough, had the passenger mirror missing, damage to the passenger side. There was orange discoloration on the front bumper, presumably from colliding with the construction cones. The vehicle was searched. There were several empty 16-ounce beer cans found in the car. The defendant was taken in for questioning. He admitted that he was the only one driving his vehicle the last few days. He admitted that earlier that night he went to Cleveland for a music event during which he consumed alcohol. He then got back into his vehicle and went home on Interstate 90. He remembers driving on Interstate 90 and going home. He told police he did not remember hitting Richard. So the defendant was arrested, and Your Honor, the victim, because of this collision, suffered a lot of serious injuries. Frankly, it's a matter of luck that he wasn't killed. These injuries include an open fracture of the right tibia, which means the bone was sticking out of the skin, fracture of left tibia, fracture of left fibula, fracture of the fourth metatarsal bone in the right foot, fracture of the right calcaneus bone, which is the heel bone, fracture of the right cuneiform bone, which is another bone in the right foot, fracture of the frontal bone, which is the front of his skull, fracture of the third lumbar vertebrae, and a laceration of his liver. Your Honor, the victim was in a wheelchair from the time of this incident to, I believe, October of 2023. He has basically had to learn how to walk again. He is still doing physical therapy, and he is still dealing with the repercussions of this incident. In fact, a few weeks ago, he was in the hospital again because one of his legs became infected from the procedures that were done initially. So he is still struggling. He has not been able to work or make a living this entire time. And as you can see, Your Honor, his friends, family, co-workers, and union representatives are present in the courtroom today. That indicates how much this incident has affected them as well. So, Your Honor, the state would ask the court to consider the immense amount of harm this has caused the victim and his friends, family, co-workers, in addition to certainly the mental and emotional toll it has taken on the victim as well. As counsel indicated, the defendant did agree to a prison term as part of the plea arrangement in this case. The maximum is 60 months or 5 years. The state would ask that the court impose the 5 years based on the harm that this has caused to the victim. And Your Honor, the victim is present in the courtroom this morning, and he would like to address the court as well.
Okay, thank you. Over there. Thank you, officer. Will you please begin by stating your name and spelling the last name for the court reporter?
My name is Richard Szymkowski, S-Z-Y-M-K-O-W-S-K-I. I would just like to just basically tell about my experience that I had. I mean, obviously, I was hit on the road, and he took off. And I'm just glad that my brother and Kara were there to come and save me, basically, because if not, I would have probably been laying on the side of the road, bleeding out, and probably would have ended up dead. I spent 4 months in a wheelchair, and my house is not like set up for any kind of wheelchair access. So, like, I was limited to like 3 rooms. And I couldn't go anywhere. I had to stay at my house, and then if like maybe some people would come get me, but that's about it. So I mean, it's basically like sitting in your own prison inside a house and not being able to do any kind of task whatsoever. And then then I was able to start walking, which that's a task in its own, because that's definitely not easy. So I still feel the repercussions of it. Like, my legs don't feel normal. And then, a couple of weeks ago, I ended up getting a bad infection in my foot, which was the cause of the plates and stuff, and possibly the road debris that was on the road. So they ended up having to cut my foot open, taking the plates out, and the infection actually started eating away of my tendons for my toe. So now, my toe is I can barely use my toe now. But I haven't been able to go back to work and do what I love to do because I can't really walk. So I mean, I'm just here, I guess. I'm just mad that he decided to, instead of stopping and taking the time to accept responsibility for what happened, he left me for dead, basically.
When you were hit and you were laying on the road, were you conscious at all?
I was not.
So you don't know if he sped off or just drove off at a normal rate of speed?
That I do not know. I know my brother he's the one who saw it, so he saw it firsthand.
Okay, I would like
So it's information like that. That's where it's coming from.
Okay. Have you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to ask your brother.
Okay.
I just have one question for you. Well, maybe 2.
Okay.
You were there. Did you see the actual incident?
Yes.
And when your brother was laying on the ground and the car took off, do you know if it took off in the normal speed that it was driving prior to hitting your brother, or did it speed up, if you can tell?
I'm not going to lie to you. I couldn't tell because I was focused on my brother. Because he was laying on the ground and I ran to him.
Thank you for your honesty. Okay, thank you. Anything further, Mr. Felice?
Your Honor, just briefly, the statute also requires a Class 4 license suspension, which is a definite term of 1 to 5 years. Other than that, Your Honor, we would just ask the court to take all these things into consideration. Thank you.
Your Honor, may I address the situation? And I think Mr. Felice would concur with me that the evidence would suggest that my client was driving within the speed limit, and after the accident, he did not accelerate. And once again, Your Honor, the portrait of Mr. Rolando Rodriguez leaving the scene of the accident in a knowing fashion after he hit the victim in this matter is not correct, Your Honor. He spoke to the police. He did not know he had hit the victim in this matter, and he did not purposely leave him behind to die.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, Rolando, you were when you left this accident, okay, you went home, correct?
Yeah.
And then later in the day you were driving again, is that correct?
The next day,
The next day?
around 4 o'clock.
Wait a minute. Just a moment. Okay, according to the pre-sentence investigation report, it tells me that this incident occurred at 1:56 a.m. and you did not stop. And later on the same day at approximately 4:44 p.m., okay, Avon Lake Police Department conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. Was that in your driveway? Or was it on a roadway?
When I had left to throw garbage out, I noticed it when I rolled out. I was going to roll down my two windows. I looked over and I noticed it. When I rolled the windows down, there was no passenger mirror. So when I walked across to the other side, I noticed that something had happened. I had driven down the road to see if maybe I had hit something.
Okay, and so once you left the construction zone where this occurred, how far were you from your home?
I believe that when the construction zone just like abruptly somewhat ended and came to an exit, in which
That wasn't my question.
I'm sorry. Okay.
How far was the incident from your home?
It was at the end of the street, approximately maybe like a mile.
Do you live on I-90?
A mile and a, no, on Lear Nagel, almost by Lake Road.
So how far is that from
About a
where
mile.
this occurred?
About a mile.
And during that time, you didn't notice that you didn't have a side view mirror?
I have like I was listening to music very loud. I have issues hearing. I got infections in my ear currently. I listen to things very loud. And,
Well, you don't hear a side view mirror, you see it, you visualize it.
well, when I was driving, I know that I was going into a construction zone, so I basically just had the music going and I was just driving forward. I didn't see anybody in the middle of the road as I was driving forward. I didn't think that anyone was on the side of the road near the vehicle. I just went and didn't pay, I just paid attention to going forward. I didn't pay any attention to side traffic or anything. I didn't know that he was that close. I didn't see him when I was driving forward. I didn't know that he was that close to the mirror, that I don't recall any of that.
Okay, well, I read the 5 letters that your counsel had delivered to me, and what stood out to me was every one of the writers mentioned and talked about your willingness to assist others. Okay? He cares for people in a way that is so genuine and giving. Okay? That was from your friend Sarah. And this is from another friend, Jennifer. You have always been helpful, hardworking, and a caring individual. Then from your legal wife, who you have been separated from for the last 18 years, and right?
Yeah.
And you haven't divorced so that she can take advantage of your hospitalization insurance? Am I reading that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, she says that you help everyone else, including your 3 stepchildren and your legal wife, okay? And then we have Aunt Carmen, right? She's your Aunt Carmen? Okay. And that also says that you were always helping whoever needed you. Is that also correct?
Yes, it is.
And this night, when you hit a construction worker, you didn't act in accordance with everyone saying how helpful you were and how you care about other people. I can't even imagine a person with those qualities leaving even a dog or a cat in the road dying. I understand this didn't cause the death, and I'm very happy about that, but it doesn't seem to comport with what your friends. Do they all know that you left him on the road? Do all these people that wrote these letters, do they know?
They know that I had hit him, and I didn't know till the next day. I didn't know that I had hit him when the police told me that. I wish I would have been there with him.
Okay, the court is going to sentence you on count 2, and this is a high turf felony 3, and it's your first offense, I understand that, but in a serious case like this, it only takes one time. You know, one sentence to kill someone, injure someone, harm someone, only one time, okay? And to sentence you to anything but the 5 years would be to seriously demean this offense. Drunk driving and speeding or swerving in a construction zone. I mean, and isn't the rate of speed reduced in that construction zone
Yes.
in order to protect the workers?
Yes, and I had prepared. I just knew that where I was going, and I usually get off at an exit where there's always police waiting close to the exit, so I always watch my speed around there, and I'm always careful. And Your Honor, I was not intoxicated.
That's even worse. You're saying you were sober when you left this victim laying on the highway? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't remember seeing him. I don't remember this event ever happening until the police had told me that I had struck the gentleman. None of that.
I find that very difficult to believe, number one, and I find it horrific that you could hit a human being and leave him there while sober.
Your Honor, when I try to conceive what I'm actually trying to tell you, it doesn't always come out properly, and you could ask Oscar that. We've been back and forth. So what I may have said to you may have come out different.
How many ways can you say that you're sober?
I was driving forward straight through that construction zone. All I could see is the glow, and I just continued driving straight. I didn't. When I got off the highway, I was attentive. I looked to the left. I looked to the right. I always make sure I look to the left because I know, and I made sure.
Right, and you didn't see the missing side view mirror.
No, I made a right turn, and also to the mirror when I hit him with the
side view mirror would have been.
Yes.
Right.
But I had to make a look left because I needed to go over the bridge there on Laird, and I had to make sure, even though I make a left in the green, the light is green, sometimes the car will go over there quickly, and I have to.
Thank you. This court is sentencing you to 5 years on count 2, and that comes with the class 4 license suspension of 5 years. I'm suspending your license for 5 years, which starts when you get out of the institution. Time served on the misdemeanor physical control, and I think it's 1 day that you were only in jail 1 day. Is that accurate? 6 days. Is that accurate? 6 days?
And then I believe I was in Westlake. I don't remember.
Well, if it's wrong, Mr. Rodriguez, attorney, would you please see my bailiff and correct it? We do not want to short him anytime, okay? You can have no contact with the victim, and that includes all the social media sites. It includes regular mail, telephone calls, anything at all. No contact, and no contact from any of your supporters, family, or friends can contact the victim either, okay? Now, this comes with post-release control mandatory for 1 year, up to 3. Is that accurate, Mr. Rodriguez? Okay, that's what we agreed at the plea. So, Mr. Rodriguez, understand, I went over this with you at the time of the plea. When you get done with your court-announced sentence, you're going to be under the supervision of the Adult Parole Authority. and they will supervise you for 1 year for sure, that's mandatory, and it could add on 2 more years, which is optional, with the adult parole authority deciding in their discretion whether to supervise you for 2 more years or any part of 2 more years. That's up to them. Now, while you're on post-release control, if you violate any of their rules or conditions, they have the power to take you back to prison, even if you've done every day of my sentence, and they can take you back in increments of 9 months for each violation, up to and including 1/2 of the court-announced sentence. So conceivably, they can take you back in for 2.5 years, okay, if you violate, okay? Like I said, 9 months for each violation. And if you commit a new felony while on post-release control, then the new felony sentencing judge or the adult parole authority can add onto your new felony sentence the greater of 1 year or the time remaining on post-release control. And by law, that must be done consecutively, meaning one sentence to follow the other. Now, it may be possible for you to earn an early termination from the institution. It is up to the institution to arrange that and follow that if they have that policy. And the way you earn early terminations is through productive participation in vocational, educational, substance abuse treatment programs, or even prison employment. However, if you have any misconduct while in the institution, all credit will be erased and you will not be given an early termination. Do you understand that?
I do understand.
And you can also, of course, I'm sure Mr. Rodriguez, if he hasn't gone over, I'm sure he did, but you can also file a motion with the court to terminate your sentence early. But the court also will be looking at your institutional record, and if you have any write-ups, the court will deny it out of hand. If you have earned credits and have no write-ups, it will be considered as all other motions of that kind are considered. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connor.
Mr. Felice, would you have Mr. Sapkowski?
Dan DeRose with 19 News here. You've been watching the judge hand out the stiffest possible sentence she could for Mr. Rolando Rodriguez. You see there the victim in this, Richard Smizkowski, and the judge, I believe, wanted to hear from him again. This is a little bit out of the ordinary. Let's listen in.
Okay, cameras off. Cameras off. Audio off.
Okay, as you heard, the judge is ordering our camera off and our audio off. I'm going to go ahead and flip out of this as the judge has made a really strange request there. We'll have to wait and hear what the conversation was. Our reporter Katie Tursek is in the courtroom. Very strange request there. Never seen that done before. Asking the victim to come back up to the stand there, and was about to have another conversation. Let's get this straight. What the victim has gone through in this case is horrific, having to learn to walk again. You heard the multiple broken bones, including a skull fracture. Then there was I believe, a laceration of the liver. Had to live in a wheelchair for a number of months. He compared living in his home in a wheelchair because his house isn't wheelchair accessible. Claimed that it was his own prison because he could really only access 3 rooms because he was in that wheelchair. So nobody demeaning what the victim went through here. But let's go to the other side of this. Mr. Rodriguez had entered a plea deal where the agreement for the plea deal, and the judge does not have to abide by a plea deal ever, and she clearly did not abide by the plea deal. Rodriguez went into court today thinking maybe a year. He has no past record. I believe they said he had a littering ticket, was the only thing he had ever had. And the judge smacks him with the maximum 5-year sentence in all of this. That is about as brutal a plea deal and sentence as I have seen in a number of years covering court. But again, it is up to the judge's discretion. That is the bottom line, and that's exactly what we saw here. The judge is, I'm looking at the live feed, the judge is done. The victim has left, and the judge is off the bench. So we will have to wait and see what that last final conversation was that took place. And I'll show you this picture because obviously the judge is no longer on the bench. It is possible that she had the victim go back to her chambers before whatever this conversation was. So we'll have to wait and see. This was an eye-popping sentencing, to say the least. We have our 11 o'clock news coming up in just about an hour and a half. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be here on our digital platforms. In fact, I'll be anchoring our 11 o'clock news, and then we'll have our noon news on Channel 19. So we'll see you on CW43 in just about an hour and a half. Until then, I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.